Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and go live a minute or two early just because the fact so that we can chit chat a little bit, wait on a couple people to arrive. Um, it said there's nobody watching at the moment, but I seen Robert just respond. Okay, so I guess it had to give us time. No, now it's showing one person. Hi there, Robert, and this is my friend Jessica Green Brown. So she's got a lot to talk about and tell us in a little while, but right now we just basically want to say hello to everyone.
Okay.
So, kind of like, how's the weather there, Jessica?
Oh, it's a beautiful day.
I am surprised I do not see Edward right now.
Oh, he's over there asleep.
Oh, good.
It's nap time. I, I timed this perfect. He's on nap time.
Well, by Edward, she's got a cat that's Edward, and anytime he's awake, he kind of like gets jealous when she's on the computer or whatever, and he's right in her face, bro, like give me kisses, constantly like that.
Yeah, he's quite the social cat.
Well, you look nice.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're quite welcome, and I'm glad that you're on here to share your story because a lot of people, there's been so many different people's stories, and but yours is a new story in a lot of different aspects. But we'll get to the brunt of that, and it will shock people to know that some of this stuff was done even with CPS being around and this kind of stuff. And she'll break it down. And first of all, she was giving me her definition of how she saw survival. And first off, I'll let her go ahead and read that if she wishes.
Well, survival is being on your knees, bawling and praying to God for safety when there is none. Someone to save you when there's no one. Being desperate to escape a hell you know's coming. Walls of secrets and lies that silence and shatter. See no light at the end of the tunnel. No hope for misery to end.
Yeah. That sums it up a lot.
Yeah, that's my definition of survival. That was me at 5 or 6.
And be basically also that your daddy had a relationship with somebody prior to your mother and
Mhm,
had 5 kids with her
mhm,
or something like that.
mhm.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more? Start off. We'll go ahead and start off.
Well, prior to in his prior relationship, he was basically on a rampage prior, like before I was even born, of being violent. He shot at my sister, stabbed my brother. His ex-wife actually had him hospitalized prior to meeting my mom, and he was released from a psychiatric hospital just prior to meeting my mom in a bar,
I remain calm.
because his dad died.
They look at any excuse in the book.
Hmm.
It don't even have to really be a reason behind what they're doing. They'll look for an excuse like, you feel sorry for me and do nothing about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. But she had him hospitalized for his violence, and they released him because his dad died. Not because
Wow.
he was better, but because his dad died.
Wow.
And then shortly thereafter, he was at the VFW, and my mom was there too, even though he was 17 years older. She had a few too many drinks, didn't know where she was, and he took her home, and they became a couple after that.
How many siblings did your dad have with your mama's?
As far as kids he had with my mom, they had
Yes.
me and a younger one, but my younger brother didn't make it because my dad kicked my mom in the stomach. He killed him, essentially, because he was born dead with water on his brain full term, which he got away with. I was 4. And And he didn't want any more kids, so that's what he did. He kicked my mom in the stomach, and my little brother was born dead full term with water on his brain.
He didn't want any more kids. Why didn't he do something about it with himself instead of take another person's life?
Well, he
Is
got
that
the
even?
sentence. He got 45 to 105 years with good reason. He
Yeah.
got the maximum sentence allowed by law whenever he was sentenced, whenever I was 15.
Yes.
He was on a rampage for a good long time, and he was actually on the run for 5 years after I reported it and was taken into state's custody and things of that nature. He was actually a fugitive for 5 years, before they actually were able to catch him.
Wow. So we'll let people know, when did he start? Um, what kind of stuff did he start? Did he start grooming you first as a younger, when you were younger, as most pedophiles and
Oh,
do?
you mean grooming?
Yes. Did he groom you, or did he go straight in for the kill, basically?
No, no, I was well groomed. But I don't go into the actual details of the sexual abuse and what he did specifically
Uh
because
huh.
it's really irrelevant as far
Right.
as that. Because I mean, that's not going to be helpful to anybody, and my goal is to be helpful, and that's just
Uh huh.
the details of that is just not relevant for
Yeah,
me.
you don't have to tell the details or anything, but I was just wondering if that was, if he groomed you, like,
Oh yeah, I was groomed,
yeah, because that's, a lot of times that's what they do. They groom, they prepare, they,
and he manipulated and used every manipulative tactic to keep me silent, including isolation. I was not allowed to have friends. I had cats as friends. That was it. Um, he would not let me play with even the neighbors. One time, whenever I was about 4 years old, let's see here, he thought I was going to ask to go out on the sidewalk to play with the neighborhood kids. I was going to ask to go out on the driveway instead of playing on the porch.
right.
But because he thought I was going to ask to go play with the neighborhood kids, he backhanded me across the face so hard it knocked me over.
Ooh.
That's how he tried to silence me. He used any means necessary to protect his secret.
But you
And
said all,
he did threaten me with a gun prior to CPS showing up.
right. Did you say also that even the people going down the road, he would shoot at neighbors and that kind of stuff as well, or something?
Well, we lived at the end of a dead end street. There was a small alley that they could go down with huge, I mean, massive potholes that would tear up anybody's car. So typically, somebody would rather than drive down 10 tons of potholes and tear up their car, they would turn around in our driveway instead, so they didn't have to go through all that. Typical
Right.
person would. But my dad did not like anybody turning around in our driveway. So he would go out there, and we were sued numerous times by neighbors and people that he shot at for turning around in our driveway.
Very volatile
He was
TNT
very
right there.
violent. Yes, he was very violent. It did not take much to set him off. I literally, and I don't remember ever having sippy cups. Like, those little cups that they have a little
Yes.
seal on them? I had to use regular cups. And I spilled milk on my high chair. He got so mad. He lifted me up, threw me out of my high chair, and threw it over the back hill.
And through what?
Literally over me spilling my milk on my high chair.
Wow.
And it had no lid on it. No such thing as a sippy cup during my childhood. We couldn't afford that. So, you know, I literally couldn't even spill milk.
So basically, literally, with him beating you, you got to cry over spit. That's bad,
Oh
but
no,
that
whenever
is
he would beat me,
horrible.
he flat out told me not to cry because it didn't hurt.
Yeah, right. Your
When he would
violence
bang
don't
my
hurt.
face off the wall, he would have me stand with my nose against the wall. He would pace behind me and he would slam my face up against the wall. He told me not to cry because it did not hurt.
I wish that some people would have got him into it. The bigger people, that was more forceful, and they could slam him into a wall like that and say, "Don't you dare move and don't cry. It don't hurt."
So,
Was he ever military or anything like that too?
oh yeah, honorably released, 4 years in the military Navy. And
Wow,
if I'm not mistaken, he was a trained sharpshooter.
that's even scarier.
Hmm. So he was well trained. He knew what he was doing around guns.
People like that should be dishonorably discharged or reprimanded because they still call themselves a brotherhood of
Well, I was
people
a
or
lot.
whatever.
Mhm. So I don't know what the dysfunction was with him. His childhood, as far as I know, he had no history in his upbringing of any history of violence in his family or anything like that or being abused. So there's no explanation there
Uh huh.
for his behaviors. He just was who he was.
Right.
He was the youngest of 13 boys.
Wow.
So something went wrong with him. I don't know if it was a genetic problem or what, but his psychological actually found him to be an ingrained pedophile incapable of rehabilitation.
Wow. And
And I
you
did
said
not find that out until after I testified against him and I read it in the newspaper.
you
Nobody
said
shared that with me until after I read it in the paper where my name was mentioned whenever I was 15.
how old were you when you started running away?
11. I was in kinship care. And that was an interesting experience because at the same time as my dad was stalking me, my brother started taking a belt to me every morning before school. So he also picked up where my dad left off.
He blamed you for the things that your daddy did to him.
Yeah. And he punished me for
And the weird thing is, he was he's as much blood kin as you were.
it. Well, no, he was from my mom's previous marriage.
Oh, okay. Really?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did not meet him until I was 2.
Wow. I wish that he got to go ahead and stay with his daddy instead of brought into that dysfunctional.
Yeah, my mom fought to get him back, and he probably would have been better off with his dad.
Yeah. Which probably basically ruined his life too, where he started drugs and all that other kind of stuff as well. Because a lot of people that's been traumatized to this, they start.
My brother did a lot of things to me, but I know what he went through because I was there. And despite what he did to me, I know where that came from. And the fact of the matter is, he let the demons that developed because of my dad eat him alive until it killed him in 2020. It literally ate him from the inside out until it
Well,
destroyed him.
was your mother afraid of your daddy and the fact about stepping up for
Oh
y'all?
yeah, yeah. She was afraid to even leave him, especially leave him, because he told her if she left him, that he was going to drag her behind his car down the road,
Well, and
and he would have done it.
how did you end up? When was the thing about the CPS worker showing? And
I was 10 years old. I was
uh huh.
9 when I reported it to the CAP program in the 4th grade. I was 10 by the time, and I was in fifth grade by the time CPS showed up. So you're looking at about 6 months later. They nonchalantly call my mom up and let her know, hey, we got an investigation. We're coming to investigate a complaint of child sexual abuse. They don't notify me of anything. They don't tell me anything. I come home unsuspecting of anything. This is 6 months later, mind you. I'm coming home from school, and my mom's not home from work, and my dad meets me at the door with a
Oh,
gun,
joy.
44 Magnum to be specific. He's pacing the floors. I go hide in the closet. When my mom gets home, she pulls me out of the closet before CPS gets there. CPS, while they're there, watches him run at me. Literally run at me in front of them.
With a gun.
No, not with a gun.
Not with a
No,
gun.
no. Like he was going to attack me. I walked right back out the door. I was like, oh shit. I walked out the door, left me there after even that. Even witnessing him try to attack me in front of them. And said, oh, well, you have to find another place to live. You can't stay here. They didn't enforce anything. They didn't make him leave. They provided no protection, and they never came back. They never followed up. They disappeared off the planet. I had to literally change after my house burned down a few months later. This is months later. We lived in a camper after the house burned down. So this is even more months later. I had to change counties, houses, and schools before I could get help and ask for it again. And he had beaten me numerous times between telling on him the first time and having to tell again.
I bet
Neighbors
you
knew,
were,
family
and I
knew.
and I
Sorry.
bet you were petrified too that after the CPS left, you knew that it was going to be worse on you.
Well, see, I was clueless. I had no idea they weren't going to come back.
Wow.
I was 10 years old. I didn't have the capacity to understand what that meant, what that was. I had no idea. All I knew was I was in hell.
And the adult was petrified
Hmm.
of them. How much more damning is it to a child experiencing this?
The neighbors even told me he was still there. He never left. He lived in the van outside our house.
Wow.
Hmm. He moved into the van in our driveway. The
Wow.
neighbors told me he was there. I watched him carry his little lunch pail down the back stairs, out the window. Yeah. I knew he was still there.
So he was trying to make sure no more is said and keeping you.
And then magically, 3 months later, my house happened to burn down. And he picked me up from the same school I told on in matter initially. The day my house burned down, January 31st, 1993.
Wow.
I remember it distinctly, right down to the date, being pulled out of class, and him waiting in the car in the driver's seat. And I
Wow.
also remember him reaching around that seat to hit me.
So
So,
what happened next after y'all left that locale? I mean, after you left the school, you know, were you still living in that person,
well, for a while, we went to stay with my Uncle Oscar, which was my dad's brother.
right? Was he any better than your brother? I mean, than your daddy, I mean?
Oh, yeah, he was the sweetest man. He was not anything like my dad, and my dad actually got violent with him, too.
Wow.
That's why we couldn't stay there, because my dad got violent with even his brother. Over what? I don't even know. The man was in his 80s. And my dad was abusive to even him.
Oh,
And
oh,
there was no sweeter man I've ever met than him. Met a sweeter man than that man right there.
wow.
So I mean, my dad was just a monster. He was very violent.
Hey, Jackie, good to see you. Meet my friend Jessica Brown. I'm having a pretty good day. Thank you.
He had no boundaries whatsoever. It didn't matter who it was, he got violent with anyone. His own brother, the neighbors. I mean, we were sued so many times. And actually, he fought with the neighbors next door so much that they actually got violent with me. I was riding my bike down the alley and we had to sue them because they threw rocks at me while I was riding my bike and hurt me.
Yeah. Jackie just told you hello.
Hello.
That's horrible for them to not understand that you're a child and the crap that you're going through. And they knew how violent your daddy
And
was,
neighbors.
and yet they took it out on you about what he did. That is so messed up.
And then there were neighbors that actually literally moved out of the neighborhood. I can name, I'm not going to name anybody, but there were two particular neighbors that moved literally out of the neighborhood because of my dad.
I don't blame
Because,
them.
and one of them wanted to kill him. They moved out so they didn't kill him and ended up in jail themselves because
Right.
he was that out of control.
Did they have kids with them also?
The neighbors had kids, yeah. Hmm.
I hope he never tried to do anything to them.
Oh no, they weren't allowed. They weren't allowed over. I
That's a
wasn't
good
allowed to
thing.
play with the neighbors.
That's a good thing in a way, that kind of protected them,
Hmm.
but it's like who was protecting you? And I would like you to go ahead because Jackie didn't hear your definition of survival, and I'm going to let you go ahead and say,
Well, survival to me is being on your knees, bawling, praying to God for safety when there is none, someone to save you when there's no one, being desperate to escape a hell you know is coming, walls of secrets and lies that silence and shatter, seeing no light at the end of the tunnel, no hope for misery to end.
what was the next step after the house burnt? You said, and then you had to move into a
We lived in a camper on the driveway after we left my uncle's house because we couldn't stay there because my dad got violent with him. So we moved into a camper with no running water and lived on the driveway of our burnt down house.
wow.
We washed up at the rest area on interstate.
Do you see what she said?
And to add insult to injury, my mom had a DUI at the time.
Well, there's a
And my
comment.
dad claimed that he was the alcoholic in her AA meetings. And let's see here. I was left there while she went to jail on the weekends.
Can you see your comments? You got another comment to you.
Oh, I'm in a safe place now, I guess. But I was left there after I told on him by myself while my mom was in jail on the weekends too. Let me tell
Uh,
you, that was a treat and a half.
not, not
No, it's
You're
total
saying it
sarcasm there.
satirically.
Yeah, total sarcasm there. That was not a treat. That was no fun at all.
I'm glad that you had cats and stuff like that where you could give love to, but they show you love back. I'm glad that you did have cats that you could have something to
Hmm.
rub and love.
That was the only. That was my biggest strong point right there was my cats. They taught me resilience. They taught me how to love healthily. They taught me a lot about just life in general just by watching them, you know. So I mean, I that was the only thing I could attach to that was healthy.
And when you decided to
Up until I was
tell
10 years old.
and when you decided to tell this second person, I know that it had to be scary as heck to trust anybody to try to.
Well, CPS kind of did me in on that one. I trusted them to do their job, and they really screwed me.
Oh yeah,
They almost got me killed.
that one
That
school
was
teacher,
traumatic.
was that a school teacher that helped you next, or what was it?
Um,
Who was it that?
it was actually an officer on a wild goose chase. Somebody had called the police, and he just came on a random complaint to check things out. He was on a wild goose chase.
Was he
Uh,
at your house, or what, did he go to the
that was
school
at
with
my new
you?
school.
Oh, good that he actually interviewed you at the school and not in front of your father.
Hmm.
Phew, safety measure there. Smart thinking cop there.
And it was also my concerned fifth grade teacher, because I'd been telling all the kids at school, my new school, mind you, these kids didn't even know who I was, and I'm sitting there telling them what's going on at home. You know,
Well, I'm glad you did because somebody actually
somebody called
listened and
one of those kids went home and told their parents, and somebody called the cops. That's why the cops showed up on that wild goose chase.
I'm sorry, that
Somebody,
about brings
somebody
me
notified the police.
that
Somebody did the
actually,
right thing, but it took me telling a bunch of kids at school and them telling their parents and it going through neighbors and family and all these people that knew before I finally got somebody that might actually help.
and I know how hard it was to trust him. Like, oh no, he's going to do me in or something like that. Because I
And my
knew it had.
story never changed. My story never changed. Just nobody would help me.
I'm sorry,
I
I got
was telling
tears.
everybody.
I got tears because of knowing that these kids cared enough to go and share with their parents, and they got something done
Hmm.
to where these adults were doing nothing.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
they didn't
Uh,
want to get involved. The adults did not want to get involved. So, the day they actually that I met with the cop, and I spilled beans to him too. Same thing I'd been telling everybody. I finally got an opportunity to talk to somebody who might actually do something. CPS was called in. I was removed. They had to chase down my brother and my mom, or actually, technically, my dad, because he tried to take off with my brother. Um, I don't know what happened with that because my dad tried to take off with him and my mom and flee. That's all I was told. I don't know any more than that about what happened at that time, but I was placed in kinship care. But on my way to pick up clothes from the house, I figured my dad was in there, and I was not about to go in there. And I flat out told them, I said, if you want to go in there, go ahead. I said, I'm not going in there. I said, he'll blow you away to get to me. I am not going in that house. They never went in. They heeded my advice. They
the
were
thing they
smart
did.
to do so. Even my grandmother, whenever he showed up on her doorstep, she had to pull out her shotgun and point it at his head whenever I was in kinship care and tell him she would blow his brains all over the pavement if he did not leave.
Was that your mother on your, I mean, your grandmother on your mother's side or
My
your
maternal
daddy's side?
grandmother, yes.
You, Jackie wrote you again.
The problem was more than with the system, the problem was with the people. The people refused to get involved to do anything when they knew what was going on. They
Like she
didn't
said
protect me. They
earlier,
didn't try.
CPS, yeah, like earlier when CPS showed up, he tried to attack her, and then he said, "Get out," and they just left and never did return or never did do any charges against him. Never
Oh,
tried to.
oh
They could
no,
have
he
got
got
SWAT
purged.
officers, huh?
Oh, he was eventually on him again. And then there was also problems with which county was going to try the case because it was on a line, a
Uh huh.
geographical boundary line.
Wow.
So, whose jurisdiction? Jurisdiction issues came into play too. Is it going to go with this county? Is it going to go with that county?
I bet he intentionally got to that area so there would be a little bit a squabble between that where he could think that they might just drop it.
He was from another state. He went to the other state, hid out.
I like what you really did when he showed up on a motorcycle.
Hmm.
I'll let you tell them about what had happened.
He showed up to the local theme park whenever I went there with my mom and my brother. And my mom and my brother were running scared. And at first, so was I. And then I stopped. I got tired of it. And I turned and I walked right up to him. And I told him, I said, get the hell away from us because you're not supposed to be anywhere around us. And I mean, I faced off with him right there in the parking lot. He turned and walked away. He got on his motorcycle and rode off. That's when the stalking stopped. I think he got the picture. I was
It was
11.
shocked that you actually stood up for yourself to him.
Apparently, I'm the only one that would.
And you said you got a stepbrother, wait let's see, a half brother
Hmm.
through his prior marriage that actually had written to you supporting you.
You cut out.
I said that you actually, your brother through the first marriage of your daddy, he actually wrote you and supporting you on you getting the story out and validating a lot of things. Am I right?
Yeah. On my first video, he actually commented. Yep. And he talked a little bit about his experience with my dad, our dad actually. He's not just my dad; he's his dad too.
Yes. And soon Jessica's gonna be writing her book.
Hmm.
She's actually got it where they're gonna start ghost writing it and stuff. I let them tell them about the different things that you were into that you volunteered for and that you volunteer for today, if you want to as well.
Well, I volunteer for I Believe You, um, and it's a new nonprofit, and then Foster Kids United, um, and that's my two current ones. I've previously volunteered for Miracle Mind Global, SCSA, um, and numerous other volunteer agencies as well. Um, I'm doing a lot of other things though right now, in addition to my volunteer work. Like I'm studying for the LSATs and writing my book and stuff like that. But yeah,
Do you have one of your poems? Because I know that you wrote for Resilience magazine, where you got. Do you
um,
have anything you could share with them? A piece of something that you wrote to show them.
oh yeah, hold on, let me pull it up. I have articles published and also my poetry.
That's wonderful. Plus, she's going to be on Motivator.
Yeah, America's Next Motivator. I'm going to be coming on that sometime soon as well. Yeah. I pulled up a Child's Hell if you want to hear that.
Yes, please do that.
Haunting memories that fill the mind, walls seeing such vile deceit as if possessed by putrid evil. Anger overwhelms every inch, muffling screams of pure anguish, never seeping beyond walls of so many violent secrets. Horror scars the very foundation, a living hell witnessed only by blind eyes of pure stone. No voice could describe such misery. That was me at
Wow.
15. I wrote that at 15.
Wow. That depicts it in a nutshell. That depicts it. Jackie did write you another comment down there.
Hmm. Yes, bullies always run away when you stand up to them, and he was a bully. Interesting word you chose because that's exactly what my half brother called my dad was a bully, and he was.
And then how did your daddy wind up getting arrested? Let's get into that, and then
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I was in state's custody at the time, and they said they finally found him. That's all I know on how they caught him.
okay.
Um, I I've been told that my mom may have had something to do with that, but um, I think she was like scheduled to meet with him, like she was going to get back with him, and they caught him that way. Other than that, I don't know if they would have caught him.
Yeah, I think she had to be terrified in that kind of thing because you never know what he would do since he's such a volatile person,
Yeah,
and he had threatened to
I think she
drag
had to
her
use herself
body
as
behind
bait.
the vehicle. Huh?
I think my mom had to use herself as bait so they could catch him.
And right now, you got your mom also with you, which y'all's got a
Yes,
relationship, and
yes, yeah. The stuff whenever I was younger and everything, she actually, her and I have mended our relationship since my brother's death. We had some terrible issues up to that point, but I think we've come to terms with a lot of things since the death of my older brother
right.
that died in 2020. So
Yeah, like you said, he had the demons and everything, but it was caused from your daddy's sadistic behavior towards him. And plus, probably for the fact that he could have been around his loving father, and but was taken away from his
yes,
loving father, instead lived with a monster.
yes, yes, he was. Um, he got the brunt end of a lot of stuff because he was literally the stepchild, um, which is what he was angry with me for because I, according to him, got special treatment because I was my dad's biological child.
I don't see any kind of special treatment that was given to you. Excuse me.
No, but according to him, I got special treatment. You know, that I did not get special treatment, but in his eyes, I did.
And the only special
And my dad
treatment,
did pit us against each other on more than one occasion. And I think he did that on purpose because he was also molesting him.
oh,
And I didn't know about it.
how did you find out about that?
It was after I told about the abuse that I was experiencing that I found out he was too. There, like one time on the boat, um, my brother ran back toward me when my mom got up from the front of the boat. She was sunbathing, and his genitalia was hanging out. I was
Wow.
down the back of the boat. So, I mean, there were really no boundaries to what he did and where he did it. But I didn't know what he was doing to me was also being done to my brother until after I told.
And it's kind of crazy because if your mama would have
He kept it
retaliated
all. He
and
kept
then
everything separate. He would
see the
send
thing
my
is,
brother out for like to walk the dog, and my mom would be at work. He would pick opportune moments to do these things,
right.
you know. So I was clueless about my brother being molested by my dad. My mom was clueless about both of us being molested, and but he was home all the time. He could do that.
So he
I
didn't
didn't.
have a job. So he didn't have a job.
He did not work, no, because he wanted to pay child support.
Oh,
Or quite
that's
frankly,
how
I think
he.
he just didn't want to work. But then at the same time, uh, my brother didn't know about my abuse either. But he was also acting out on me.
Did he ever be in contact with his biological father very much?
He was as isolated as I was, except for he had problems at school. Um, and that he stayed in constant trouble at school, constant fights, getting in fights with the neighbors and things of that nature. Constant would skip school. I mean, um, he had a lot of behavior problems. I did not exhibit the behavior problems that he did. He was also lower functioning than I was. Whenever he died, he had a shrinking brain. He had a number of issues whenever he died. That was one of them. And I didn't know until after he died his brain was actually shrinking.
Wow. But
So
whenever I hear you say that about your brother being starting fights and all this other kind of stuff,
he
he
would go to school
basically
and grab
was
the other
screaming
kids'
out for
junk.
help. He was basically needing help. He's getting that, he didn't know how to.
He was crying out for help, and nobody would listen. They just thought he was a BD kid, some stupid kid with behavior problems. His cries were
That's
ignored, just like mine were whenever I was going around telling everybody, hey, what's up? Flat out, telling them what was going on. Oh, I don't want to get involved. Go tell this person, go tell that person. I got the runaround. No matter who I told, it was, oh, go tell them. Oh, no, go ahead. And I did. I did the whole runaround. Nobody would do anything.
no
Why?
adults will do anything,
They
and
want
it
to get
took.
involved.
So then you telling kids, and then actually something got done with you telling kids.
I
You
told
tell the
kids,
adults nothing was done, but you tell the kids that something was done.
yeah, it took me telling other kids at school in fifth grade, mind you. Fifth grade. Fifth grade kids got something done that adults in a whole county could not do. In a
How
whole
long did it?
neighborhood, a whole family, nobody would do anything.
How long did it take you to fully trust that police officer to know that he was really going to do his diligence to help you?
John, he was a cop. I told him. I spilled the beans right there. As soon as he asked me what was going on, he originally asked me if I had been the one that called the cops. I said no, I didn't call the cops. I didn't even know at that age how to call the cops.
Right.
You know, but then I told him. I said I know where it's coming from, and then I told him what was going on. As I had literally told probably 100 people already.
And this officer actually did something about it.
He actually did something about it. I don't know his name, but thank you, and thank you again for doing that, whoever you were.
Amen to that.
The nameless cop that helped me, I have no idea who he was, but I do have to say thank you. Somebody finally did something.
And then once your daddy was arrested, how many years did you say he was sentenced to?
45 to 105 years without the possibility of parole. He was to serve it consecutively, not concurrently. In other words, not at the same time as each sentence had to be served separately. That's how he got such a long sentence. He was given the maximum sentence for all 11 counts.
That's what we need to always do instead of, do it, you know, consecutively. So instead of concurrently, where you put in, you don't need to put them in and say, well, they served this much time. So
Hmm.
they need to
No.
add on to the crime, the time to the crime.
Hmm.
And
Well,
enough
I mean,
bullshit about dropping like there was the sheriff in Limestone County who had like 16 or 17 charges against him.
mhm.
They dropped a lot of the charges, and when it took it to court, all he had to do was end up serving like 2 years in jail.
But see that social workers didn't understand whenever I was a teenager why they had so many problems out of me. But they failed me before I ever got started in the system. They
I'm
they
sorry.
they told me I was going to have behavior problems because what had been done to me before I ever exhibited any problems at all.
I kind of laugh at some of your escapades about escaping.
Mhm.
I mean, I laugh. I call you a nickname, Jackrabbit.
Well, whenever you tell a 13-year-old who's had the experience set that I have that you're going to lock
Uh-huh.
them up in a lockdown facility, basically put me in jail, take away my freedom. Okay, well, catch me if you can.
You got that right.
I
And there
jumped out
was
of a
some
social
of them.
worker's moving vehicle.
Wasn't it some of the foster care workers that talked about even tying you up or doing something like that, similar to keep you
No,
from
that was
running?
not in state's custody. Actually, my experience in state's custody the entire time that I could consider a hugely bad experience. I was actually safer in state's custody than I was in my natural home. That's why I put myself in state's custody. They can't hit you. When I was 13, um, but that happened in kinship care.
And so today, with
My,
you being
my,
with a
my aunt
foster,
tied me up to try to keep me from running away. And when that didn't
wow,
work, her husband took a belt to me too.
wow.
Nobody ever asked me what was going on or why I was running away. Could have something to do with my brother was taking a belt to me every morning while somebody was in bed.
Right.
I would have
And I'm
told
sure
her,
you had, and
but
I'm
nobody
sure
ever
that,
asked me. Nobody cared. They just wanted
well,
me to do what they told me to do. It was a power and control trip, I guess. You know, okay, well, you can't control somebody like that because guess what? I had a reason for running. I was safer in the freaking woods behind the house. Nobody ever hurt me there. The trees didn't hurt me. The leaves didn't hurt me. The ground didn't hurt me. The creek didn't hurt me. My brother did. My dad was
exactly,
stalking me. If I was in those woods, nobody knew where I was and I was safe.
exactly. That's her resilience, y'all. That is her resilience against all this stuff. Like y'all heard different stories about CPS not doing their job and all this, but this is totally different when actually CPS showed up and they witnessed that her dad going after her when she came through that door and he was going to attack her and the daddy said leave and the lady left and never came back.
Hmm. Yeah.
They let her fend for herself all to her vices, knowing that this guy was violent.
Yeah,
They didn't
I
try to
actually
call
disclosed
police and
sexual
say,
abuse.
let's help his kid. They didn't never say, we need more forces. We need to go back and we need to help his kid. They didn't do any of that, y'all.
I fully disclosed the sexual abuse despite being threatened with a gun. prior to CPS showing up. Mhm. And hell rained down on me after she never came back. I was the last time my dad beat me. Uh, I remember it distinctly because he chased me all through the new house. This was in the new house we lived in. After we should change counties, I changed schools, and I'd been telling the kids at school and stuff like that. And this is like literally the Friday before intervention took place by the cop. He showed up at the school the following Monday.
Oh, wow.
The school, there was a storm that Friday, a thunderstorm, and the school made parents come in to sign their kids out to make sure we were safe when we left the school. He accused me of trying to get him in trouble because he had to come in and sign me out at my school, my new school.
Wow.
And he chased me all through the house. He got a hold of me, full force fist punch blows to the head. He had me cornered by the basement door, and I was crouched down like this. And he was full force punching me in the head.
That is so
And
wrong.
then he wanted to try to kiss my ass after, so I wouldn't tell on him again.
You're like, I'm sorry, I'll do
I had
better.
my first heart to heart talk with my mom that night.
How did
I
that
was
go?
done. I was done. I told her, I said, I'm not staying here. That was the last weekend she was scheduled to go stay in jail for her DUI. I said, I'm not staying here with him. I said, let me call Mama. She will let me come out there. She's never turned me down. I said, I'm staying with her this weekend. That's where I went. I
Did they
called my
try?
grandma, and
Did
like
he
I
ever try?
said, she let me
Did he
come
ever?
out there.
Did he try to show up there and try to make you leave?
Nope, nope, he didn't show up at that time. That was prior to me going to kinship care, though. He did show up, and she met him at the door with a shotgun. But it wasn't her first rodeo either. There's a generational cycle in my family on my mom's side of sexual abuse through the generations.
I think you said that's one reason why you don't want to.
I'm not perpetuating the generational cycle.
Okay,
Stop
you
swearing.
also you also had said something. What is that kids thing the foster kids thing? What's that about?
Foster Kids United.
Uh huh.
It is a nonprofit organization that provides resources to people who age out of the system.
So basically, do they? It goes up to
It's
a
a newer
certain age.
organization.
Has that got something to do with aged out?
Age
Uh,
out foster
Greg,
youth. Yes.
yes, Greg Rapport, and he's at YouTube also. You can look at the
Hmm.
Aged Out Angels. Jessica's been interviewed by him, and so she told her
He's
story to
great.
him. Yeah, he's awesome. He's amazing, and I was interviewed by him as well. So he's a really nice gentleman. And the Aged Out program, where they actually provide schooling and education to these people. Once they reach a certain age, they no longer qualify for it. So
Hmm.
it's best to try to reach them almost immediately, where they can have a good life, where they can have their degrees and
Hmm.
start afresh. So how did you end up getting even though you were abused and stuff like that, and then you ended up going to college and you ended up just persevering and you really knocked everything out of the water, girl. I'm so proud of you.
Actually, I didn't think I was ready for college whenever I first started college. I was still quite a mess at 18, to say the least. Excuse me.
Bless you.
But the group home I lived in actually believed in me. And they enrolled me anyway. Plus, I started college my senior year of high school. Um, I took English 101 my senior year. So enrolled into Marshall University. I had to start with remedial classes, and I didn't even know how to type when I started college. Quite frankly, I did not think I was ready.
Mhm.
But I graduated with, I mean, I did the work. It's not about where you start. I started at ground zero. I mean, literally ground zero. And I worked my way up. I built on what I had. I started where I was. And my senior thesis was sent to the president of Marshall my senior year. It was over 400 pages on the correlation between domestic violence, child abuse, and animal abuse. Um, and I graduated with university honors.
Congratulations.
And college was not a cakewalk, but also I had my ex husband's family as support too. So I didn't do it alone. Without their help, I probably wouldn't have made it through college.
Are
So
you still in
I have to give
contact?
credit where credit is due. I had a support system from my ex husband's family while
Are
I
they
was in
still
college.
are they still in contact with you? Any of them?
Oh yeah, I still stay in contact with even my ex husband. We're still friends. I was with him 13 years. But as a couple, we just didn't work out. But,
Right.
as friends, I'll be his friend for life.
Yeah. That's good that the family supported you that way and helped
Hmm.
persevere like that. And like you blew it out of the water, girl. And
I
what
had a
is
lot of help. I had a lot of help from his family as far as being morally supportive.
yeah. A lot of us wish that we had families and that kind of support like you did, and I'm so glad that you were given that chance and that you were loved and cared about that much and respected enough to show how valuable you are to some people.
Well, I always give credit where credit is due. I always remember the people who are good to me over the people who hurt me because I appreciate that kindness. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody has to be kind. Nobody owed me anything whenever I was growing up. You know what I mean? The
Right.
fact of the matter is, they were good to me because that's who they are. And more people were actually good to me, and whether it be in the system or perfect strangers, than those who actually hurt me. That's where my resilience came from. Is the good people I met.
And I like the fact that you deem your family also as the kids that's in the um, foster care system and stuff as being your family, and you
Yes,
really feel yes,
everybody that is in the foster care system is basically my family because I aged out. I was never adopted. And to me, that is my family. I have a Golden Girl family too. Every girl that comes through Golden Girls, actually, they have a Golden Girls has a motto: once a Golden Girl, always a Golden Girl.
even me and Jessica, we had a little bit of differences, but it was somebody else that intervened in the thing and then disrupted that. And we worked through it. We got rid of the toxic people and that caused the situation. And we're back friends again because really, I've always believed in her. I loved her perseverance and stuff. And it really hurt me, when, we weren't friends because I always deemed her as a friend. She's always got something about her. And I want to thank you for being able to come and share this story and help others. And tell us more about what your goal is about your book that you're in the processes.
Well, I'm going to start on it in September, and my goal is to inspire, empower, and encourage people to chase their dreams. despite adversity. I want it to be a story of hope and strength despite adversity.
Right.
Because with all the things that I have gone through, if my story can empower or inspire even one person to better their life, to help them in some way, to me, that makes everything that I've gone through worth it. To me, that's what I wanted for my closure, is to help even just one other person.
I like the fact that even though you kept telling adults and you were still, you told, you know what I mean? You still continued to have that voice. You told whoever would listen, and
Hmm.
finally somebody cared enough and did something about it to help.
Yeah,
So
you
I,
have.
you
If you're not
kudos to
initially
you for
listened to, you
continuing.
can't give up. You have to
Y'all
keep.
hear that?
If your voice is not initially heard, you keep trying. You do not give up.
Can y'all see why she's gonna be America's next motivator? Can y'all not see that right there? Jackie wrote something to you too. I'll go ahead
Thank
and
you.
be glad you were able to change your life and have the strength to do so.
Anybody can change their life if they want to. I'm not unusually strong. I think that if I can do what I have done with the little bit I've had, others can do more. Because I am actually probably not the strongest person in the world, but I refuse to give up.
She's kind of like got a photographic memory too.
I have had times in my life when I was at my lowest that I wanted to give up. And then I realized that there's always light at the end of that tunnel. But it took years for me to realize that.
Yeah, I could understand that too because where I was at a lot of times, I'd never seen a light at the end of the tunnel. All I saw
Mhm.
was cruelty, pain. There was
No
hardly
hope.
no good that you could. Even Christmases, when people when you
And that's what
celebrate or
leads to
something.
suicide.
Oh yeah,
Hmm. That's what leads to suicide. And that's what we don't want.
exactly.
The
Because
absence of hope
actually,
is,
they win. They win when you kill yourself because then you're silenced forever, and that's what they want. They want you to be silenced forever and not get the stories out there.
well, shattered silence is better than shattered people.
Jackie wrote this to you.
Thank you.
We got some sweet people here supporting you.
But I believe that shattered silence is better than shattered people. Because if, for instance, it was very hard what I went through as a kid, but somebody finally listened to me. And there's a lot of people that don't have that experience,
Exactly.
and I think that shatters people when they're not listened to.
Yeah, I
People
got
need to
afraid.
stand up and start listening.
Yeah, I got to where I was at a stage where I was afraid to tell anybody because these people would literally go to my parents and endanger me even more so every time I did tell instead of trying to help and get me to safety. So it
I
makes a
get
child afraid to talk and like that when you're putting the child more in danger. You know my story, where they actually beat me and actually put me in a wooden box for me to die under the house. Different things like that. So yeah, and then I guess people just don't realize how volatile it really is.
Mhm. Well, one thing I know is one voice can be louder than a crowd.
Wait from the rooftops if you have to.
if that's what works.
Exactly. I like that song in particular. Have you ever heard that song by Billy Gilman, One Voice?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Well, I cannot sing too good right now, but I'll sing a little bit of it, okay?
Mm.
Some kids have it, some kids don't. Some of us are wondering why. Mama watch the news at night. There's too much stuff that's making her cry. We need some help down here on earth. 1,000 prayers, one one voice was heard. One voice, one simple word. Hearts know what to say. Basically that. But you
Hmm.
ought to listen to that song
I'll look
because
it
it's
up.
very yeah, Billy Gilman, he sang it when he was younger.
Okay, I'll look it up.
And they've actually got a video where somebody had a gun on the school bus and somebody was showing it around on the school bus.
Mhm.
And he looked like, oh man, you know what I mean? He looked like, and then later on, he saw a kid throwing, well, he was still on the school bus, saw the kid throwing the gun over the side of the bridge.
Hmm.
So one voice of prayer was heard, one voice, you know.
Hmm.
So it ended up nobody getting shot, nobody being killed.
That's good.
So I kind of, love that video.
Yeah.
And see, that could speak a lot to and put it in connotation with us today. One voice was heard. Your voice was heard today.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that one of the key things that I want to get across in this particular interview is I think people should believe in themselves more because we all need a dream. We all need to shoot for those dreams, chase those dreams, be who we are, love who we are, and believe in ourselves.
Exactly.
No matter who you are, what walk of life you're from, what your story is, believing in yourself is crucial. We deserve that.
Yes.
As people in general, believing in ourselves is vital, it's crucial to
Yes.
living, to survival. You have to believe in yourself.
Yes. I want to say that whenever I had went through it, I really thought that nobody gave a dang. Seriously,
Mhm.
Jackie wrote this. Um, and the thing about it is, I realized that there were a lot of people that genuinely cared.
Mhm.
A lot of unseen, unknown people
Mhm.
who generally care about children and their well being. I did not know this during these times with the darkness and the cruelty and the pain. I did not know that there were people that genuinely cared because
Tunnel vision.
everybody, the environment around me, nobody gave a dang enough to try to help.
Hmm.
So I was really, I guess we were shown it at the time and made to believe that nobody cared, that we were not important enough to be seen, heard,
Hmm.
and
I actually
respected.
read an article about that that was published.
Oh, really?
Uh, Fear, darkness versus light. Yes.
Do you have a copy where you could read that to
Oh,
if
it's
you
kind
got
of long. It'd be too long for the show,
not
but I
really.
can.
We got a couple hours.
Well, it'd be kind of long to read, but I can share it with you, and if you want to, you can read it. I don't.
Well, I'd rather hear your voice since you're the writer, though. If you want to hear her, the author, read it, put a one in there, Jackie, please.
It's kind of long,
But I think it's important to share when it goes along with.
but I pulled it up. I got it.
Okay,
If you want me to read it, I can.
please do.
All right. It's called Fear, Darkness versus Light. The darkness appears to have a stronghold, but does it really? If in fact light can eliminate darkness by shedding its rays into it, that means the darkness has only the power we give it or by ignoring it and not addressing it. Fear allows it to continue. The dangers are real, but fear is the real issue that allows the darkness to continue its reign of terror. It's the underlying foundation beneath judgment, silence, and shame. People fear what they lack understanding of because it's unknown territory. People fear the unknown more than anything and usually try to stick with things they know because it is comfortable and predictable with a safety net. It takes courage to combat fear, sometimes great courage, and it is not easy. There comes a point, though, where it becomes essential to face those fears and conquer them, or else they will conquer us. The darkness does not lurk in the shadows like we think. It is a part of each and every one of us, as is the light. You can't have darkness without light or light without darkness. Yet you must be able to understand the difference between the two. How many of us truly have reached a level of growth equivalent to self actualization and know our true capabilities? We are all at different levels of growth and development internally. Age is just a superficial number. The light and dark coexist within us and react on the desires in our hearts, which then lead us down the paths which we decide to take. You can run, but you can't hide from the darkness or the light. They are both part of us as humans, and it's up to us to decide which path we want to choose for ourselves. Everything depends on how you look at things and whether you feed the light within you or the darkness within you. That is a choice we all make for ourselves, and no one can make decisions for us. Things happen outside ourselves, but our responses and reactions to those things are still choices we make for ourselves. And we are responsible for our own destiny and outcome. No one truly gets away with anything because God knows everything. A lot of the things we tell ourselves are lies based on fear, and we believe those things to be true. When we listen to those self defeating lies, they turn into thoughts that underlie our actions. Our actions lead us down the path based not on not only what we think, but also the things we act upon. It becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. What we think we are, we become, because we work toward it whether we realize it or not. Secrecy, shame, hide this darkness and allow it to perpetuate and collect more and more victims. Exposure is the only real way to intervene, since you can't address a concern that is not brought to light if you don't know that the problem exists. Perpetrators prey on naivety and innocence and use that to their advantage to manipulate the situation. Can you imagine a world of combined efforts to stop the darkness that appears to prevail among us now by shining the light into the darkness? Where could the darkness hide? There is a power in numbers, and there are far fewer bad apples than good ones. Through exposure, give them no place to hide and remove them so they can perpetuate no further damage. The underlying dynamic needs to be addressed in order to solve the problem, because it's the root, not everything else merely a bandage that won't cure but only temporarily treat the aftermath of the problem. It does not resolve the problem itself, and we need more permanent solutions. If you want to defeat the darkness as a problem, address it at its source or the root. Light is hope, where even a mustard seed of it can develop into more. Can you shine brightly enough to give hope to someone who knows only darkness? Can you inspire, encourage, and empower persons in darkness to understand that they too can shine and have hope? You can be the beacon of light that leads people out of the dark tunnel they are in and into the light of hope. Without judgment, lend a hand and lift people out of the darkness. The end.
Wow. I like how you said about what basically what we can achieve, what you could find out what you actually can do. And I'm still growing today as I still don't understand what my capabilities are, you know?
Mhm,
It's like, really, if you set yourself down for what you think your capabilities are, you're setting yourself short
mhm,
because really it's a growing progress process.
mhm. I'm a
So when
constant
you,
work in progress myself.
yes,
I'm always changing and growing every single day. I build on what I had yesterday and try to do better today.
yes, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I thank you for coming to the show, and I will be doing a show with Jessica. Did we decide on Monday night?
Yep, Monday.
Monday night on Blog Talk Radio at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I won't say EDT or EST or whatever, whatever. I just say 7, and I look forward to speaking with you again on the radio. Get your story out there and supporting you. And thank you for always supporting me as well.
Very welcome. It's my pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
These are okay. You see what uh, Jackie said to you?
Oh, thank you.
So if you ever wanted to come back on here and just do a show and just talk or anything, just let me know. You're welcome to come in and give your thoughts, opinions, and things that's going on in your life. You're welcome anytime. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I think you would be an awesome. You are a motivator. I think you would be awesome having your own YouTube channel also called the Motivator.
Well, that wasn't my idea, so I can't use motivator on mine.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Advocate the advocator, whatever whatever your you could even name it whatever your book's gonna be called
Mhm.
or something like that. You know.
Oh, I'm sure I can create something.
Oh, okay. And the other thing that we are both active in is the I Believe You. Do you know enough about that to tell the people what that's about?
It's a newer nonprofit organization, and it serves survivors of sexual violence and domestic violence.
And it serves the women. It don't serve the men though.
Yes.
It just serves for the
Yes.
female.
Yes. It serves women.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And me and her both are on the board on that organization as well. But I could see she's always going by leaps and bounds. And what is the real reason behind you wanting to get your legal thing? Is it to help change the laws, or what is it?
Uh, well, I'm just studying for the LSATs right now. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna
But
be a force to
it
be
definitely will give me the skills to understand the law.
right. Right.
Mhm.
You are smart enough to be able to do it, and so I know you will persevere and you will accomplish it. You may doubt yourself, but don't be a doubting Thomas like I'm a doubting Thomas on myself a lot of times. Don't be like me, okay? So
Well, back to what I said. You need to believe in yourself. Look how far you've already come.
yes,
Don't give up.
yes, and
Believe in yourself. Believe in
I like what Jackie just said right here to you. I got it on the screen. If you can read it on the screen,
I wish you well too.
you're strong women. Will persevere. Anybody, whether you're male or female, we are going to persevere against this. Don't lose hope. Don't lose your voice. Have the strength and courage like Jessica has shown us.
Well, I mean, nobody has to be like me though.
I know, I
They,
said
they
like the
can be
strength
who
and
they are.
courage, like Jessica exhibited, the strength and courage.
That's up to them.
I'm not saying be like Jessica, because you're your own individual, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying look at her. She's a motivator. She's resilient. But I'm saying, as far as don't silence yourself,
Mm-hmm.
don't be like that. Have a voice. Speak out. Speak up. Do whatever to because
Listen
I
to
get
that little
wrong.
inside voice that you've got. about what the right thing to do is. Listen to that little inside voice. Everybody's got one.
One
Listen to
time,
it.
I'm going to be straight with you, Jessica. One time when the principal had called me to his office and I didn't understand why he kept calling me to the office every day for a whole week
Mm-hmm,
or about an hour, per day.
mm-hmm,
And I didn't understand. And so around 2001, I called him up, after I done got out of school years later. Okay. And so I was curious, like, what did I do wrong for you to call me to the office? So I really thought I did wrong, something wrong. I did not understand. He said, I knew you were being abused at home,
mm-hmm,
but we could not come right out and ask you if you were being abused.
mm-hmm. My,
He said, I was hoping
mm-hmm,
you were going to tell me that you were being abused. I
mm-hmm,
said, yeah, but if I would have told, which that little thing was kept telling me, I didn't listen to that voice back then telling me, tell, tell. I didn't listen to that voice. And it did me wrong not listening to that voice. I should have listened to that voice. Because when he told me that, no, you wouldn't have had to return home to your evil stepmom and all that, that we already had a place for you picked out.
mm-hmm,
They were just waiting on me to say the word that I was abused.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what?
Right.
But I had that fear of returning back home and being victimized and murdered and all this other kind of stuff. I still had that fear. But I did not listen to that voice that was telling me to tell right then, tell, you know.
Yep.
And I wondered, and I said, I wondered why you hit the top of account filing cabinet and said, "I give up," and he hit it, and then I almost told then, and I like, well, he said he give up. I'm just gonna go ahead and walk out, but that voice was stronger than to go ahead and tell something. And I'm like, nobody gives up. So my demons were working against me to silence me, and I listened to those.
Well, I know one thing with abuse situations, leaving is the most dangerous time.
Yes,
So disclosure and leaving has to be timed right for the person who is being abused. Because if it's not, things can go haywire.
if he would have let me know that I was not in trouble, if he would have said you're not in trouble for anything, then it would have let my guard down, and I probably would have.
Mm-hmm.
Cash is saying something right here. Said, sorry I'm late. Hope you all are well.
We're doing good. I'm doing good. Are you doing good, darling?
Yeah, I'm doing fair to middling, as we say in the South, fair to middling. And then some people ask, what is fair to middling exactly? But when you go like this and realize,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, you said that Robert Littlejohn said principals are mandated reporters to CPS. If they knew you were being abused, they failed their job as a mandated reporter. Well, they couldn't do nothing until I said I was being abused. So that's what the catch was with the system years ago. They could not do nothing unless I stated that I was being abused.
Things have changed a little bit since then, I think.
Yes, so now they could actually do something about it just by knowing that the person is and knowing the signs and symptoms and knowing all this. But just because they saw bruises all over me and all this other kind of stuff, they had to hear the facts that come out of my words back in the 70s. So things have changed a lot back since then, for sure. But Cash, I hope you go back and you listen to the full length of this because there is a lot that Jessica has shared with us. And I said I will be doing her story on my Blog Talk Radio channel. It will be radio, it will not be video for people that don't know that it's radio. And I will be giving that information on my Facebook page about how to go about calling in or how about listening and stuff. Awesome, amazing. I appreciate you so much, Cash. Well, as I would say, it's better late than never. Okay,
Yeah.
it's better late than never to come in and give support. Cash likes
Thank
to
you
come
all
in.
for coming, actually.
Cash likes to come in and support people that are for real.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that as also. Adrian Paz had wrote you too.
Thank you, Adrian.
So go. Do not lose hope. Speak out. Do what you can. If you see somebody like all of a sudden Yankee Kid or this kind of stuff, like a thing that happened in a local Dollar Tree not too long ago, Jessica. I don't know if I told you about it. There was a mother that had this like a 11 or 12-year old, and she all of a sudden wrapped her arms around the boy's neck, holding him firmly right there, and like this, "You guys, y'all disgust me. I can't take you anywhere. That's why I never take y'all out to eat. That's why I never give y'all special eat. That's why I never treat y'all special like y'all's important. I can't do nothing for y'all because y'all so bad and all this." And I all of a sudden I stopped right where I was. I was at the end of the thing, and I stopped right there and I said, "What the hell?" I stopped right there, and then the daughter was in the other aisle with the grandmother. That lady was stuck in a freeze mode for about 30 minutes. She was scared to move because somebody recognized what she was doing to this child. And somebody at least said something. I went to the cashier and I said, "Well, I've got to go." I said, "But please keep an eye on that lady." And I'm sure that lady overheard because that's why she was still in that froze position. She's abusing
Mhm.
that child. I said, "Please, if you see any more, please call the cops and report her." And she said, "I will because I was abused also." So the cashier had been abused. Child, she had to deal with child abuse as well. And you do not know how many people there are out there. And so I want to thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you
And
for having me on.
well, thank you so much. And I'll let you go. One thing before you go, though, please, please, please. I do got to see the little one, the
You mean
little.
Edward?
Yes, please.
All right, hold on. Let me get him. He's
Yeah,
clinging.
we got to see her cute cat, Edward.
Come here.
There's Edward. He's so loving. He was a good kitty. He didn't come in front. He was sleeping, cat napping.
He was
He
cleaning
was
himself.
it's cleaning something. See what he always does. That's why you let him sleep. He always goes up to her when she's on a camera or anything and starts kissing on her. Isn't that a loving cat right there? Gives her a lot of special attention. Isn't it sweet? Yeah, it is. So
He's a big baby.
precious. Yeah, he's a big baby. So I wanted people to get the joy out of seeing
He said,
what your how your cat,
he said how he was not expecting this attention.
huh?
He's like, I'll take it.
I'll take it. I love the attention. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to talking with you again. And you can always still hit me up at Facebook anytime and stuff. And I want to say God bless to y'all. And please, I've got a friend, William Pennington. He did the prayer with me. We did a prayer on here Sunday, and now he's in a hospital. He had collapsed in his apartment yesterday, so he had congestive heart failure. And so he's in the hospital now. So please remember to keep my friend William Pennington in your prayers. I would appreciate that. And remember, pray for the lost children and all these people to understand and get the word out. All right. Thank you so much, Cash. And thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Edward, for sharing with us also. All right. Goodbye, everybody.